Have you ever tried to fix a problem, only to make it 100 times worse? This is a story about a paradox that haunts every government, every company, and every grand human plan. It's the story of when a brilliant solution becomes the cause of the problem itself. This is the Cobra effect. Incentives are the engine of our world. We get bonuses for productivity, subsidies for innovation, and rewards for good behavior. But what happens when people learn to game the system? What if they start chasing the reward instead of the actual goal? This is the core of the Cobra effect. A bizarre twist of human logic where rational responses to incentives lead to completely irrational outcomes. It asks a tale of unintended consequences and a warning for why so many well-meaning plans go spectacularly wrong. The name Cobra effect comes from a wild story out of British colonial India. In the late 19th century, officials in Delhi were terrified by the number of venomous cobras slithering around the city. So, they came up with what they thought was a genius idea: offer a cash bounty for every dead cobra. At first, it seemed to work perfectly. People turned in thousands of dead snakes, and the administrators patted themselves on the back for their clever, market-based solution. But then, something strange started happening. The number of cobras being brought in wasn't going down. It was going up. After some investigating, they discovered the shocking truth. Enterprising locals had started farming cobras. They were literally breeding venomous snakes just to kill them and collect the reward. Horrified, the government immediately canceled the bounty program. And what did the cobra breeders do? They released their now worthless snakes into the city. The result? Delhi was flooded with even more cobras than before. The policy designed to eliminate the danger had multiplied it. So, what's the logic behind this paradox? At its heart, the Cobra effect happens when the incentive doesn't align with the real intention. People follow the rule, but not the reason behind it. Economists call this a perverse incentive, when rational people exploit a policy in ways its creators never saw coming. In theory, incentives are supposed to guide our self-interest towards a common good, but in practice, they often show us that systems reward what's easy to measure, not what's actually meaningful. The Cobra effect reveals a timeless truth about human nature. People don't do what you hope they'll do. They do what you pay them to do. And this isn't just a one-off story about snakes. History is littered with examples. In French colonial Hanoi, officials offered a bounty for every rat tail to control a plague infestation. What happened? People started cutting the tails off rats and then releasing them to breed, so they could farm more tails. In 20th century China, Mao Zedong's Four Pests campaign targeted sparrows to protect grain supplies. Millions of sparrows were killed, but this led to an explosion in the locust population, which the sparrows had been eating. The result was a devastating famine. Even in modern corporations, when sales bonuses are tied only to short-term numbers, employees are encouraged to inflate figures or push unnecessary products, not to build real, long-term value. The mechanism is always the same. Incentives drive behavior, but behavior adapts much faster than our good intentions. In our digital age, the Cobra effect has gone high-tech. It's now embedded in the algorithms and dashboards that run our online world. When social media platforms measure success by clicks, views, or engagement time, the system naturally optimizes for attention, not for truth or quality. Clickbait headlines, viral misinformation, and the addictive nature of our feeds aren't accidents. They are the predictable, modern-day cobras born from incentives that are misaligned with our well-being. It happens in education, too. When school funding is tied to standardized test scores, teachers are pressured to teach to the test, narrowing a child's education down to only what can be easily measured. The modern cobra isn't a snake. It's a data point, optimized without context or wisdom. Behavioral science helps explain why we fall into this trap over and over again. Humans are naturally goal-oriented, but we can also be context-blind. We respond powerfully to immediate rewards, often ignoring the long-term systemic consequences. This leads to a phenomenon known as Goodhart's Law, which states, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. The moment you start rewarding people for hitting a specific number, that number stops being a reliable indicator of success. People will find a way to hit the target, even if it means undermining the original purpose. The Cobra effect is Goodhart's Law in action, a feedback loop where measurement drives manipulation. And this isn't necessarily about people being dishonest. It's about them being incredibly adaptive. Humans aren't inherently bad. They're just really, really clever. We see this dynamic playing out in some of the biggest challenges we face today. In climate policy, subsidies for certain green technologies can sometimes unintentionally shift pollution elsewhere or create new environmental problems, a rebound effect known as the green paradox. In law enforcement, strict arrest quotas can pressure officers to focus on easy, low-level arrests instead of complex preventative police work that actually makes communities safer. In healthcare, when hospitals are paid per procedure, it can create an incentive for overtreatment, rather than focusing on a patient's overall health and well-being. In every case, the system hits its metric, but it fails its mission. The Cobra effect is more than just an economic quirk. It's a profound cultural lesson. It shows what happens when we try to engineer human behavior with simple rules and rewards. Every incentive system is built on a foundation of trust. It is a story we tell ourselves about what we believe people will do when no one is watching. When that trust breaks down, we replace it with rigid rules. And rules, by their very nature, can always be gamed. The paradox teaches us that complex problems require feedback and flexibility, not force. Policies need to evolve like a living ecosystem, adaptive, self-correcting, and humble enough to admit when they're wrong. So, how do we escape the Cobra's bite? To avoid this paradox, we need to design systems that align rewards with the real purpose, not just easy-to-measure proxies. This means creating constant feedback loops to monitor how behavior is changing and adjust the incentives accordingly. It requires transparency to make manipulation visible and difficult to hide. And, most importantly, it demands that we measure what truly matters, not just what's easy to count. Often, when people are trusted, empowered, and given a sense of shared purpose, their intrinsic motivation to do good work far outweighs any external reward. The antidote to the Cobra effect isn't more rules. It's better relationships and clearer values. At its heart, the Cobra effect is a parable about the limits of control. It reminds us that human systems often fail not because people are irrational, but because they are hyper-rational. They adapt perfectly to flawed designs. It's a humbling lesson that no spreadsheet or policy can ever replace wisdom and foresight. So, when we design our systems, in government, in business, or even in our own lives, we have to remember this. Every incentive we create tells a story about what we truly value. And ultimately, what we value determines what we become. The Cobra effect endures as a powerful warning because it reveals the hidden cost of good intentions. From the Cobras of Delhi to corporate bonuses and the algorithms that shape our reality, the pattern is eerily the same. Our obsessive pursuit of order can breed an even greater disorder when incentives misfire. To lead wisely is to anticipate adaptation, to design systems that learn and evolve rather than just command and control. Because in the end, the most dangerous cobras aren't the ones slithering in the streets. They are the ones we unknowingly create with our own best ideas. Thanks for watching.